Today on The Detach, we're exploring a pattern that's incredibly common but rarely talked about honestly. The parent who knows all the theory about staying calm, who understands co-regulation, who genuinely wants to be the anchor but keeps becoming the storm instead. If you've ever promised yourself you stay calm tomorrow, only to find yourself yelling again the next day, this conversation is for you. Here's what the traditional narrative may have led you to believe. Your temper is a discipline problem, as if you needed to try harder. Just use better techniques. Find the right script. But what we're exploring today isn't about willpower or knowledge. It's about capacity. The yelling, the explosions, the matching of their chaos. That's not a technique problem. It's a nervous system capacity problem. And you can't solve a biology problem with psychology. And here's where the detached parenting perspective comes in. Your nervous system is the primary intervention, not your words, not your strategies, your state. And if you're dysregulated, everything else you try to do, all the calm voices, all the validation, and all the techniques, they're just performance. Your child feels what's underneath. This episode isn't about how to stay calm. It's about why you can't. And more importantly, why that matters more than any technique ever will. Because dysregulation breeds dysregulation. Your chaos becomes their chaos, and no amount of apologizing after the fact changes the fundamental truth. Your regulation or dysregulation is the environment for your whole household. It's not one of many factors. It's the water everyone is swimming in. So let's get into it.
We're here to, take those neat theories we all learn and just smash them against the wall of real life, see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And today, we're looking at something incredibly tough. Mm-hmm. It's that feeling, that internal fight when you know exactly how you should act as a parent. You've got the books, you get the brain science, right?
Yeah, you've done the homework.
Exactly. But then you find yourself doing the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
And it feels awful.
We're really diving deep today into this specific, really painful pattern. We're calling it matching their chaos.
Matching their chaos.
And it's not just, a simple parenting mistake. It's more like the whole structure just gives way. The parent, who's supposed to be the calm anchor, the co-regulator.
The grown-up.
They end up more dysregulated, more chaotic, often, frankly, louder and scarier than the child they're trying to help guide.
So if you're listening, chances are you know the script. Model calm. Be the bigger person. Regulate yourself first.
The checklist.
Totally. But if you're like the parent whose story we're digging into today, you also know that feeling, that hot flash and the panic, the overwhelming wave of frustration where all that knowledge just evaporates, gone.
And the parent we're focusing on today, they are acutely aware of this, painfully so. They have a 9-year-old, and they are stuck deep in this loop.
A loop, yeah.
Every time it happens, it ends the same way.
Yeah.
Intense shame, just crushing guilt, these rushed attempts to fix it, to apologize.
You feel kind of empty, right?
Totally hollow. Because deep down, there's this certainty, this dread that it's going to happen again tomorrow morning, probably, despite everything.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the contradiction here, it isn't about not knowing enough. It's like you said, they've done the homework. It feels more physiological. Like a short circuit.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying so hard to teach your kids self-control, how to handle frustration, manage their big feelings. And in the moment they push back, you demonstrate the exact opposite. Yeah. Total loss of control, full volume chaos.
It's the ultimate backfiring habit, isn't it? You're trying to build this structure of trust, of emotional safety.
Yeah.
And your own reaction just burns it down every time.
So that physiological reality.
Yeah.
That's what we're really zeroing in on.
Absolutely. We're looking at a situation where the parent's reaction isn't just a slip-up. It's like a deep-seated pattern, almost a chemical reaction that just takes over.
It bypasses the thinking brain.
Completely bypasses the prefrontal cortex, yeah. All that rational thought, all the theory you've practiced.
Yeah.
Gone. Replaced by this, primal surge, fight or flight.
Okay, let's paint the picture first.
Yeah.
Because it's really important to get this. We're talking about a parent who is, smart, engaged. They know the lingo, conscious parenting, gentle parenting.
I could probably give a workshop on it.
Right. They know They shouldn't yell. They understand co-regulation. The whole idea that their calm nervous system is meant to be the anchor for their kid's storm.
They get the concept intellectually.
They know they should be modeling that calm behavior, the theory. They've got it down cold.
It's like they have the script for the perfect interaction. They know the lines, the blocking.
Yeah. The set design for the ideal morning routine.
Exactly. But what they don't have in that critical moment is the internal resource, the emotional bandwidth, the energy, the basic stability inside to actually play the role of the calm regulator. And that gap, that chasm between knowing what to do and being able to do it, that's where the tension lives. It's immense.
We have to sit with that tension for a minute, because the more this parent reads, the more they learn about how they should be the calm one.
Right.
The worse the shame feels when they become the storm instead. It's like it sets them up to fail almost.
It absolutely does. It becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. The lived reality, despite all that knowledge, is this pattern, repeating, escalating, agonizing.
So they match the child's dysregulation.
And often, like we said, they blow right past it. They end up more upset, louder, more aggressive, really, than the 9-year-old who maybe just didn't want to put on a shirt.
It's such a paradox, isn't it? Because you're investing energy in teaching emotional skills. But the second your kid shows a bit of resistance, a whine, a defiant look, you just escalate harder than they did.
You become the very thing you're trying to prevent them from becoming.
Exactly.
Yes.
The person who loses it when things get tough or frustrating.
And it's more than just like a bad example. It feels almost biological, doesn't it? A transfer of stress.
How so?
Well, the parent might be trying to use gentle words. Maybe their voice is even like attempting calm.
Right.
But their body is practically vibrating with panic, with urgency, maybe even with rage simmering underneath. And the child, kids are masters at reading that nonverbal stuff. They pick up on the physiological state. They don't hear the calm words. They feel the parent's panic, the fight or flight energy.
So wait, if the parent knows so much about co-regulation, why can't they just pull up that file in the moment? Those first few seconds. Is the body's reaction really stronger than knowing how bad yelling is?
In that moment, yes, absolutely stronger. Because we're talking about a shift in brain state. It's not just about willpower. When the parent system is already unstable, maybe they're exhausted, stressed, running on fumes.
Which we'll get into.
Right. When that's the baseline, the thinking part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex where all that knowledge is stored, it kind of goes offline. It gets suppressed.
So the techniques are there, but you can't access them.
Exactly. The response gets dictated by the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. The second the child says no, the parent's nervous system doesn't just hear disagreement. It perceives a threat.
A threat to what?
To control, to the schedule, to their own feeling of competence, maybe, to their stability. And the body just reacts. It shouts louder than the mind can whisper the theory.
Which makes the failure feel inevitable. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's look at where this whole dynamic plays out most painfully for this parent. The place where it's most visible. The morning routine.
Yes, the classic battleground.
So we've got this really detailed picture of the morning routine explosion, getting ready for school. And it's just universal frustration, right? Time pressure.
Absolutely. The scene, the child, 9 years old, is just sitting there on the floor, maybe, still in pajamas, and just refusing. Staring at the wall, ignoring the parent.
The blank stare.
It's a perfect storm scenario because the clock is ticking. It's non-negotiable. Being late isn't just an inconvenience. It has real fallout.
Right, like being late for school means the walk of shame to the office, maybe missing stuff.
Missing the start of their own work day for the parent, getting behind. The stress level is already high before anyone even speaks. The parent is walking in preloaded with anxiety about the time.
But, okay, the parent knows this is a flashpoint. They've been here before. So they genuinely try to start calm. They try the techniques.
They do.
That neutral, reasonable voice. Hey, buddy, we need to get ready now. School starts in 30 minutes. Let's get dressed. No anger, just the facts.
This is that conscious effort stage. They're really trying to be the anchor, trying to manage their own feelings in the face of defiance.
But it's work, isn't it?
Oh, it's huge internal work. While they're saying the calm words, inside they're probably thinking, is my voice okay? Do I sound stressed? Should I use an I feel statement? Don't sigh. It adds this massive cognitive load.
Right. And the kid gives them nothing. The blank stare. That non-response.
Yeah.
That's often the first little spark, isn't it?
It is. It lands on that dry tinder of the parent's internal stress. So the parent tries again. Maybe a little firmer now, losing just a tiny bit of that calm.
Like the voice is still even, but you can hear the edge creeping in.
Exactly. I'm serious now. We are going to be late. You need to get dressed right now. The urgency is leaking out.
And the internal monologue is probably justifying it, right? I'm not yelling, I'm just being firm. Consequences.
Mm-hmm. They might even try another technique. I see you're feeling stuck. Do you want to pick your shirt or your pants first? Trying to offer choice, control.
But the defiance continues. Maybe just a slump, a quiet groan. Nothing happens.
The heat is definitely rising now. Parents' heart rate is up. Body's on alert.
And then, the breaking point. The kid looks up, maybe tired, maybe just defiant, and drops the bomb. The simplest, most powerful word.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
And bam, that's it. The gauntlet is thrown. In the parent's brain, it doesn't register as just disagreement. It registers as like a declaration of war.
A total failure of their control.
And it catapults them instantly from trying to be calm, frustration, into just physiological panic, primal reaction.
That's the snap. And the description we have is so visceral, the face getting hot instantly, blood rushing, heart hammering like in their throat.
Yeah.
And that awful immediate wave of regret that hits at the same time as the explosion. It's not even sequential.
No, it's simultaneous. The loss of control and the knowing it's wrong happen together.
And the parent just goes off, full volume, total loss of control, screaming, "We do this every single morning. I am so tired of fighting with you. Why are you so difficult? Why can't you just do what you're supposed to do?"
And that phrase, "I am so tired of fighting with you," that's key, isn't it?
How so?
It reveals that the explosion isn't really about this morning's shirt or this morning's socks.
Uh-oh.
The parent is fighting the ghost of every single morning battle they've ever lost. They're reacting to the accumulated weight of all that past frustration, all that perceived failure.
So today's kid is just the trigger for last month's stress.
Exactly. The yelling is the overflow. The system is just flooded from weeks, months, maybe years of this.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. The mirror moment. The point where the parent sees the impact. What happens next?
Well, this is what confirms the total loss of regulation.
Yeah.
The child, instead of, cowering or giving in, screams back, matches the volume, matches the intensity, sometimes even mimics the parent's exact angry, high-pitched tone. And in that horrible echo, that's when the parent has that devastating moment of clarity. Often feels like an out-of-body thing.
What do they realize?
I sound exactly like them. Or worse, I sound like the thing I'm desperately trying to stop them from becoming.
Oof.
They're meant to be teaching regulation, but they're modeling the exact opposite. Uncontrolled rage. Escalation. Proving that when the pressure's on, the person in charge defaults to chaos.
Okay, let's rewind. Before the snap, those 30 minutes or however long it was, we think of the yelling as sudden, but for this parent, it wasn't really sudden, was it? It was more like a slow burn.
Yeah.
Pressure building up inside while they were trying so hard to look calm on the outside.
That's exactly it. It's the hidden work of trying to contain the dysregulation, and it is physically exhausting.
Like holding a beach ball underwater.
Perfect analogy. They're trying to present this smooth, regulated surface, but underneath, it's chaos. It's a pressure cooker rattling. We need to understand what was really going on inside them in their nervous system during the silence, the defiance, the ticking clock.
Well, the description from the source, the parent talks about feeling this toxic mix, overwhelming panic, honestly. Combined with just pure frustration at being ignored and the defiance. And then underneath that, this simmering rage, helpless rage.
And the panic isn't just like vague anxiety. It's specific. It's rooted in those real world logistics, right?
Totally. They're running these disaster scenarios in their head fast.
If we're late, I miss my meeting. If I miss the meeting, my boss gets mad. If this keeps happening, I could lose my job. We'll be late. The office check-in, falling behind.
It feels like the whole day, maybe their whole life, is unraveling because of this one interaction.
And the brain translates that potential collapse, logistical collapse, into a genuine threat signal. It triggers cortisol, adrenaline. The stress hormones flood the system because it feels like survival is on the line.
Wow. Okay. And then there's what you call the again factor. That seems huge.
It's massive. The core frustration, the rage, isn't just about this delay, this refusal. It's the crushing weight of it happening again.
Every single morning, it's the same fight.
When they say that, it's not just an observation about the child, it's an indictment of themselves. It's proof that their methods aren't working, that they can't control the situation, that they are failing.
I can't even get my kid dressed without World War III.
Exactly. And that feeling, that narrative of I am failing at this basic parenting task, that itself is a huge source of internal dysregulation. It feeds the stress before the interaction even begins.
So let's go back to the knowledge disappearing. We touched on the brain science, the amygdala hijack.
Mm-hmm.
Can we break that down a bit more? Why does the rational brain just go offline? What's the mechanism?
Okay, so think of your brain having different modes. You've got your calm, rational thinking mode. That's the prefrontal cortex running the show.
Yeah.
That's where your parenting knowledge, your plans, your intentions live.
The shoulds.
The shoulds, exactly. Then you've got your survival mode, run by the limbic system, especially the amygdala. Its job is threat detection. When the child says no, and the parent system is already stressed and perceives this as a major threat to order, to schedule, to their competence, the amygdala basically screams, emergency.
Hijacks the system.
It hijacks the system. It floods the body with stress hormones, preparing for fight, flight, or freeze. And crucially, it actively dampens the activity in the prefrontal cortex.
Why?
Because in a perceived life or death situation, thinking slowly and rationally is a disadvantage. Survival requires instant reaction. So the part of the brain holding the calm parenting scripts, it gets temporarily shut down or at least muffled.
So the body is literally awash in chemicals that make calm, rational thought impossible.
Physiologically impossible in that moment, yes. The parent might want to access those tools, but the brain's operating system has shifted. It's running on the survival program now, and the fight response often looks like yelling, aggression.
The knowledge isn't gone. It's just inaccessible, locked away.
Exactly. You can't access your calm theory files when your system is running emergency protocols.
And we absolutely have to talk about the exhaustion factor here.
Yeah.
The parent mentions running on empty, self-neglect.
Yeah.
How does that plug into this?
It's like the amplifier for the whole reaction. Think of your capacity to regulate, to handle stress, as like a battery.
Okay.
Co-regulation, staying calm when your kid is melting down, requires complex emotional processing. It takes energy, real biological energy.
Right.
If that parent is chronically sleep-deprived, stressed out, not eating well, not getting any downtime, their battery is already critically low, maybe at 5%.
So any little thing can drain it completely.
Any small demand, a 9-year-old refusing to put on socks, pushes that already depleted system straight into overload. There's no buffer, no reserve capacity to pause, think, choose a different response.
It's a short fuse.
It's a dangerously short fuse. The lack of self-care isn't just making them tired, it's biologically priming them for that explosion. It makes matching the child's dysregulation almost inevitable. Their own chronic stress is fueling the fire.
Okay, so the explosion happens, the yelling stops, maybe the parent storms out, maybe they just collapse. What comes next? The source calls it the worst part.
Yeah, the immediate aftermath. It's the crash. The adrenaline wears off, leaving the parent feeling shaky, utterly drained, often tearful.
And the shame hits.
Hits hard, like a physical blow. The reality of what just happened sinks in. They see the child's face, that mixture of anger, maybe fear, but definitely hurt and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And that internal monologue just starts whipping them. I'm the worst parent. I just traumatized my child. I modeled toxic behavior. I ruined everything. Relentless self-attack.
Okay, I have to push back here a bit, though. If the shame is that intense, that painful, why doesn't it work? Why doesn't that feeling become a powerful enough reason to stop it from happening next time? Surely, if it feels that bad, you'd figure out how to prevent it.
That is such a crucial question. And the answer lies in the difference between guilt and shame. It's subtle, but really important.
Okay, guilt versus shame.
Guilt says, I did something bad. It focuses on the action. It can motivate you to apologize, make amends, change your behavior. It's often constructive in a way.
Right. Makes sense.
Shame says, I am bad. It attacks your core identity. It makes you feel defective, flawed, worthless. And when the primary feeling is shame, the focus isn't on fixing the behavior. It's on hiding the perceived defect. It often leads to withdrawal, isolation, more self-neglect.
Because you feel like you don't deserve care.
Exactly. Or you're just too exhausted by the self-loathing. So shame, paradoxically, often makes the next explosion more likely, not less. It's not a deterrent. It's fuel for the cycle. It's corrosive.
Wow, okay. That explains why the repair attempts feel off.
Yeah.
The source mentions sometimes apologizing right away, still shaking.
Trying to clean up the mess while still on the emotional debris field.
Or sometimes just walking away needing space because they can't deal with what I just did.
Both responses come from a place of deep regret, genuine love, wanting to fix it, but often, like you said, the repair feels hollow.
Why hollow?
Because the parent is apologizing for the symptom, the yelling, but the root cause hasn't been addressed. Their own dysregulation, their stress, their exhaustion, that's still there.
So the promises. I'm sorry I yelled. I'll be patient tomorrow. I promise I'll do better.
They know deep down that they probably can't keep that promise under the current conditions. The pattern feels stronger than their willpower, and the child picks up on that too, eventually.
How does the child experience those hollow repairs if the parent keeps apologizing, but the behavior repeats?
Well, initially, an apology might soothe things. But over time, the child learns the apology isn't really restorative, doesn't change the underlying dynamic.
You learn the parent is sorry, but not reliable.
Exactly, not stable. Their emotional safety feels precarious because the adult anchor they depend on can turn into a storm without warning, regardless of the apologies afterward. They learn the parent lacks control over themselves. It creates this deep sense of unsafety. The apologies lose their meaning because the pattern just continues.
And this links right back to the exhaustion. The shame spiral drains the energy needed for self-care, which then guarantees the battery stays low, the fuse stays short.
Precisely. The more shame, the less capacity for self-care. The less self-care, the quicker the trigger for the next explosion.
It's a vicious cycle.
Completely self-perpetuating. The parent is trying to fix a physiological problem, stress overload, with an emotional Band-Aid apology, but the emotional fallout, shame, is actually making the physiological problem worse.
Okay, so we've dissected the moment, the build-up, the aftermath. What's the bigger picture here? We need to zoom out and look at what this parent eventually started to realize about the whole pattern. This is where things get uncomfortable, but maybe also hopeful.
Yeah, this is where the shift starts to happen. The parent's journey wasn't instant. It happened in stages, moving from just blaming themselves for the yelling towards understanding the whole system. It's really a journey of understanding their own role differently.
So the early stage,
Yeah.
the thinking was very much focused on the surface behavior, right?
Exactly. It was. I know I shouldn't yell, but I just can't help it. Purely focused on the failure to control the yelling itself. No real why behind it yet.
Then they move into a middle stage. What does that look like?
That's when the intellectual contradiction becomes clear. Okay, I'm trying to teach my kid calm, but I'm actively modeling chaos. They see the paradox.
But it still feels like maybe a failure of technique. Like if I just found the right technique.
Kind of. The responsibility still feels a bit external, maybe, or like a personal failing of willpower.
But then comes the deepening stage. This feels like the crucial pivot.
It is. This is where the insight gets painful but transformative. The realization becomes, wait a minute, my dysregulation isn't just matching theirs, it might actually be creating it.
Whoa. Explain that.
They start to see that their own internal anxiety, their stress, their frantic energy before the kid even refuses. That energy is palpable. The child is walking into a pre-stressed environment.
So the child's behavior might be, in part, a reaction to the parent's state.
Exactly. The parent's tightly wound nervous system is essentially priming the child for a defensive reaction. The parent's internal chaos is contributing to, or even initiating, the external chaos.
That's a heavy realization.
It leads directly to what the source calls the breaking point realization, the moment that shifts everything, the core uncomfortable truth.
Which is?
They're not the problem. My nervous system is the problem.
Wow. Okay. That changes everything.
Everything. Because the focus shifts completely. It moves away from trying to manage the child's behavior, finding the right chart, the right consequence, the right words.
Be managing the parent's own internal state.
Yes. The question shifts from, how do I make them behave, to, why am I behaving this way? What's going on inside me?
That feels like the absolute key.
It is. This is the core idea. The most powerful intervention isn't what you say. It's not the script, not the technique. It's your state, your own regulated nervous system. That's the intervention.
Your regulation is the intervention.
Precisely. Because if your words are calm, but your body is tense, anxious, radiating stress, the child reads the body every single time. They respond to the energy, not the words.
Okay, but practically.
Yeah.
How? How do you stay regulated when the clock is ticking, your job is on the line, and your kid is just sitting there?
Yeah.
It feels impossible sometimes.
It does feel impossible if the goal remains get compliance now at all costs. The focus has to shift.
Shift to what?
Shift to, what is the absolute smallest thing I can do right now to keep my own nervous system from completely imploding? Maybe it's one deep, slow breath. Maybe it's planting your feet on the floor for 2 seconds. Maybe it's stepping away for 10 seconds.
Even if it makes you later.
Even if it makes you 5 minutes later. Because here's the calculation. What's the actual cost of being 5 minutes late versus the cost of a 10-minute screaming match that damages the relationship and fills everyone with shame?
Right. The fallout from the explosion is almost always worse.
Almost always. So the uncomfortable truth the parent has to face head on is, I cannot regulate my child if I cannot regulate myself. Full stop.
And if you're running on burnout, if you're neglecting your own needs,
you're essentially asking your child to navigate your unstable emotional state. You're asking them to manage the adult's dysregulation. And that's not fair. It's not possible for them.
Which loops right back to self-neglect being central to this. You can't pour from an empty cup.
You really can't. Your burnout, your stress, your exhaustion, that energy isn't contained within you. It spills out. The child absorbs it. They reflect it back.
So the parent's healing, their regulation, that's the foundation for the child's emotional safety.
It has to be. It's the only way the dynamic truly changes. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow. Okay. So this deep dive, it really shows that this incredibly common struggle, the yelling, the shame, the feeling of losing control, it's often not about knowing enough parenting tricks. It's not a failure of knowledge.
No, it's often a failure of capacity, physiological capacity, energy, regulation.
So the focus has to shift radically away from controlling the kid and towards like fiercely protecting and managing the parent's own internal state, prioritizing their own regulation and self-care.
Absolutely. If we connect this story to the bigger picture, the path out of this cycle, the explosion, the shame, the hollow repair, the repetition, it isn't found in finding a better script or a tougher consequence.
No.
It's found in addressing the root cause, the parent's own chronic stress, their exhaustion, their fundamental need for regulation and rest, your internal stability. That is the foundation of their emotional safety. Nothing else works without it.
It really requires acknowledging head-on that the parent's nervous system, when it's overloaded, is the central problem that needs solving first.
Yes.
So what does that mean practically for you listening? It might mean treating your own burnout, your chronic stress, not as something to just push through, but as the actual emergency it is for your family system.
It's not a badge of honor to be running on empty. It's a liability to the whole family's emotional health.
So here's a final thought to maybe wrestle with. When things inevitably get chaotic, maybe tomorrow morning, that defiance, that refusal, that foot dragging, ask yourself, which part of this whole mess is actually about my child's developmental stage or their big feelings right now? And which part is the sound of my own accumulated burnout, my own unmet needs, finally screaming loud enough to be heard?
Because the moment you can start to untangle your chaos from their chaos, that's the moment you might find the sliver of stillness you need. The stillness required to regulate yourself first, so you actually can help regulate them.
Here's what I want you to take from this episode, and it's not comfortable, but it is essential. You can't give what you don't have. You can't regulate your child when you're emotionally bankrupt yourself. You can't model calm when you're performing it on fumes. So the work isn't learning to try to be more discreet when you're dysregulated. The work is rebuilding your own capacity, treating your depletion as the actual emergency it is, not for the sake alone, but because it's the foundation of everything else. Your healing isn't separate from their emotional safety. It's the prerequisite for it. Traditional parenting may give you the tools to manage your child's behavior, but it's ignoring the fact that you don't have the internal resources to use those tools. It's like handing someone a manual for advanced driving when they're running on an empty tank. The detached parent approach starts somewhere completely different, with you. Not because you're the problem, but because you're the foundation. So until you address your own depletion, your own chronic stress, your own overdrawn emotional account, everything else you try will be built on sand. The techniques won't stick. The promises won't hold. The shame will keep compounding. But when you start there, when you recognize that your regulation is the intervention, something fundamental shifts. Not overnight, and certainly not perfectly, but consciously. You stop trying to control their chaos and start managing your own. And that's where the real change becomes possible.